All right, learner, you ready to dive in? Today we're going deep into the world of open source intelligence. OSINT, for those in the know.
The stuff of internet legends.
Exactly. And we've got our trusty guide right here, open source intelligence methods and tools to help us uncover those secrets of the, well, invisible internet.
More like a whole universe of information. Most people don't even realize how much is out there.
It really is like pulling back a curtain in a movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
You suddenly realize there's this whole hidden world right there in front of you. And we're talking about the big ones today, the deep web and the dark net.
Yeah, those names tend to, well, scare people a bit.
I mean, they sound kind of intimidating, right?
Right. But before we get lost in the deep web wilderness, maybe we should, explain what those terms actually mean for the uninitiated.
Definitely. So, deep web first.
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about like when my browser crashes and I end up in some weird corner of the internet? Is that it?
Not quite. Though it can feel like that sometimes, right? Think of it this way. Every time you log into your online banking, or you access a password-protected file at work, you're already on the deep web.
Really?
It's basically any information that you can't find just by doing a regular old Google search. It's intentionally kept separate from the surface web, the stuff we see every day.
Okay, so less about spooky hackers and hoodies and more about just .controlled access. Gotcha. But how much are we even talking about here? Is this like a small fraction of the internet or?
That's where things get really mind-blowing. Our source material says it's estimated that a whopping 96% of the internet is actually part of the deep web.
96%.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Everything we see on the surface, all the social media, news websites, online stores, all of it, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
That is mind-blowing. All right, so we've got this massive amount of information hidden away.
Yeah.
But what about the dark net? Where does that fit in?
So the dark net, that's a smaller, even more, secluded part of the deep web. It needs specific software to access, like the Tor browser, which I'm sure we'll get to later. Right. And yeah, it's often associated with, illegal activities.
It's not just for criminals, right?
Exactly. Journalists, activists, even regular people use it for anonymity, for privacy, especially in countries with strict censorship.
Makes sense. So important distinction there.
And that's what brings us back to OSINT. Because you see, understanding how to navigate these hidden corners of the internet, even just conceptually, it's crucial for anyone who wants to understand, how information is found and used, especially in today's digital age.
So we've got this massive amount of information hidden in the deep web, but it's not all like secret societies and criminal deals, is it?
Yeah.
Our source material mentioned something called gray literature. What is that exactly?
Yeah, gray literature. It's kind of a goldmine for researchers, actually. Basically, it's a whole category of information that's incredibly valuable, but often overlooked.
Overlooked? How so?
It's not really about being, intentionally hidden. It's more that it's hard to find using those everyday search engines we all rely on.
I see.
Think academic papers hidden behind paywalls, internal company reports, conference proceedings, that sort of thing.
Interesting. So not secret, just hard to get to.
Exactly. Valuable insights, but not easily accessible to the average internet user.
I can see why OSINT investigators would get excited about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like stumbling upon a secret library, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do they even begin to navigate all of this? It's not like there's a roadmap for the deep web.
You'd be surprised. Our source material actually lays out some surprisingly accessible methods. You don't need to be some kind of elite hacker to start exploring.
Oh.
For example, a lot of researchers utilize specialized search engines and databases that cater to specific fields. They might be hidden in plain sight, but they hold a wealth of information.
So it's less about secret passwords and more about knowing where to look.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense for the deep web. But what about the dark net? That's a whole other beast, right? Our source material specifically mentioned the Tor network. What's so special about it?
Right, so the Tor network. Think of it as a way to navigate the internet with, a cloak of anonymity.
A cloak of anonymity.
It's like a message being passed through a crowd, It gets harder to trace with each handoff. Your data takes this winding journey through multiple relays, which makes it really difficult to pinpoint your location or, what you're doing.
So you basically disappear into the crowd.
In a way, yeah.
But if it's so anonymous, why doesn't everyone use it?
Well, there are downsides.
Oh, right. There are always downsides.
Tor is powerful, but it's not perfect. Just like any network, it can be vulnerable. Sophisticated adversaries, like, say, government agencies with tons of resources, they might be able to exploit those vulnerabilities and, de-anonymize users.
Yep, not foolproof.
Exactly. It's not a free pass to do whatever you want online. Responsible use is super important.
Anonymity with an asterisk. I like it. But let's say someone wants to take their anonymity to the next level, especially when they're diving deep into these OSINT investigations. What then? I've heard of something called Tails OS, but it sounds kind of intense.
Tails OS is like, strapping on an extra layer of digital armor. Basically, it's a portable operating system that you run entirely off a USB stick.
A USB stick, so it doesn't even touch your computer's hard drive.
Exactly. You leave no trace on the computer you're using, and it automatically routes all your internet traffic through Tor. So, yeah, it makes it really, really difficult to track you.
Wow. Talk about commitment to privacy.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about anonymity. We've talked about accessing these hidden parts of the internet. But what about the information itself? We've established that the deep web and the darknet are vast, complex. How do OSINT investigators even begin to find what they're looking for in all of that data?
That's where the real artistry of OSINT comes in. It's not just about accessing hidden parts of the internet. It's about knowing how to extract valuable information from them efficiently and effectively. And that often involves using specialized tools and techniques.
So less like casually browsing the web, more like a targeted search and rescue mission. Tell me more about these tools. Our source material mentions something called web scraping. What is that?
Web scraping is pretty fascinating, actually. It allows you to automate the process of extracting data from websites. Imagine being able to sift through thousands of web pages in minutes, pulling out specific pieces of information.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but also kind of overwhelming. Like I could end up with this giant digital haystack if I'm not careful.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a lot to handle. That's why there's a whole ecosystem of OSINT tools designed to help make the process more targeted, more efficient. One example from our source material is a tool called the Harvester.
The Harvester. That name definitely sounds like it belongs in an OSINT toolkit. What makes it so useful?
The Harvester is like having a digital bloodhound, you know? You set it loose, and it scours the internet for information related to a specific domain.
Okay, so like a company's website.
Exactly. And it can uncover all sorts of things. Email addresses, subdomains, even employee names.
Wow. That's a goldmine for, well, anyone trying to gather information. It's like putting together a puzzle, using all these tools to find the missing pieces.
That's a great way to put it.
But with all this talk about tools and techniques, maybe we should take a step back for a second. You know, why should anyone care about this? Even if they're not planning on becoming some, like, master OSINT investigator.
That's an important point. OSINT might seem like, something out of a spy movie, but the implications go way beyond espionage. Understanding how information can be found, how it can be used, it's vital in today's world.
Yeah.
For everyone.
So it's less about becoming a master spy, more about being a responsible digital citizen.
Exactly. Think about how much we share online without even realizing it. Social media posts, online purchases, location data. It all adds up.
Creates a digital footprint.
Exactly. And that footprint can be analyzed, it can be exploited. Understanding OSINT, even on a basic level, it empowers people to be more aware of that, more in control of their own digital trails.
It's like becoming aware of all the invisible strings that connect our online and offline lives, right?
Precisely.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Our learners out there probably seeing the internet in a whole new light right now.
I hope so. Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the digital age. And the more we understand about these tools, these techniques, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this world.
Well said. We've gone deep, haven't we? Explored the hidden depths of the internet, uncovered the secrets of gray literature, even touched on the ethical considerations. Because that's important, learner. Just because you can find something doesn't always mean you should. But hey, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? And on that note, I think we'll wrap things up. It's been a pleasure diving in with you. Always fascinating stuff.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time.
And to our learner, out there navigating the digital world, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, keep learning.